Here are some facts about HIV. About 1.2 million people in the U.S. have the virus. About 13% of these people are unaware they have it and need testing. HIV diagnoses are not evenly distributed across states and regions. The highest rates of new diagnoses continue to occur in the South. HIV continues to have a disproportionate impact on certain populations, particularly racial and ethnic minorities and gay, bisexual men who have sex with men. Joining me now is Davis Ruiz, president of Houston LGBTQ Political Caucus, the South's oldest LGBTQ civil rights organization, to talk about the HIV stigma and discrimination. We heard it from Jeffrey talking about that stigma, talking about that discrimination is really half the fight against the virus.
Right. And I mean, this was a time when we were seeing increased discrimination against the community. I mean, just in 1980, so shortly really before the AIDS epidemic, we had the cross-dressing ordinance in Houston that was struck down, that was being fought, against the community. So this was a time when we were seeing not just increased discrimination against gay men, but against all members of the LGBTQ plus community, which really contributed, I think, to the stigma and to the frenzy around AIDS and HIV.
I know it was less than a year after the CDC put out that advisory, we saw HIV take a toll on people here in Houston. And you and I were chatting off camera, and you had actually said, this is really profound, and I don't know if we're going to be able to see all of these, but these are all maybe 100 pages here of newspaper clippings from over the decades, particularly the early 1980s, talking about HIV and the impact it had on the Houston and communities throughout Texas. This one says cancer strikes in gay men, pneumonia, Jeffrey referenced pneumonia, strikes in gay men, 2 rare fatal gay diseases. The list goes on and on and on. What type of impact did these headlines have on the community?
Well, I think that it definitely, caused fear for the community, right? I mean, this was a time when we didn't really know anything about AIDS. I mean, in 1981, the word AIDS hadn't even been really created yet, right? It wasn't used by the CDC until 1982. And so for so much of this early part of the epidemic, there was a lot of misinformation, a lot of, misunderstanding about what it was. I mean, people were throwing around pneumonia, Kaposi sarcoma, different things. And so I think the impact that this had on the community was really instilling fear in everybody, because nobody knew really what was going on.
Yeah, times were very uneasy, particularly for men, gay men during the early 1980s. Not only were they having to fight for their lives, but they were also fighting for their legal rights.
I mean, this was a time when, again, we had increased discrimination against the community. It was still thought of as a mental illness to be LGBTQ, right? And so what did we do? We tried to take care of each other as best as we could. I mean, people would literally pass around hats at bars as fundraisers to raise money for this research, right? And so we did what we knew how to do, which was trying to take care of our community as best as possible, despite the fact that we had people legislating against us, creating laws that criminalized our existence. I mean, 21.06 was still on the books at this time. It's still on the books today, unfortunately. But yeah, this was really an awful time to be an LGBTQ person.
I know Clint Moncrief was the first Texan to die from AIDS-related illness.
Right. So Clint Moncrief died at the age of 33 on March 9th, 1982. He was the founder of what was then known as the Montrose Marching Band, would later become the Houston Pride Band. He was the first really known to die from AIDS-related complications, but we know that there were many before him. We just didn't have the data. We didn't know that it was AIDS-related. So there was probably a good number of gay men that had died in the Houston area and throughout Texas prior to that. We just didn't really know because we had a lack of information at the time.
A lot of people, or some people, think of New York City or Los Angeles to be ground zero for the HIV/AIDS epidemic. Houston, though, had a big role in this epidemic by having what is referred to as the first brick and mortar clinic.
Right, and so that was the Montrose Clinic that actually got its start after Town Meeting 1, which was a very influential meeting for the Houston LGBTQ plus community that happened in 1978. The Montrose Center center was born out of that, the Montrose Clinic, which would later become Legacy Community Health. They finally got their start and opened in 1981, so right at the beginning of the epidemic. And they were offering STI testing, HIV care, really, whatever they could do to really help, people living with HIV/AIDS at the time. And it was actually at the idea came from the president then of the caucus, who was Stephen Shiflett, really doing some great work to figure out what they could do to take care of the community in a time when they had very little resources.
When we talk about that care, more than 4 decades later, what is the legacy?
So obviously we've progressed very much since the beginning. I mean, at the beginning of the epidemic, it really was just palliative care, right? How can we make people as comfortable as possible while they are dying, right? Now we have tons of medications. I mean, protease inhibitors were introduced in 1996, which was a huge breakthrough for the community. Now we have many different medications for all different types of HIV, because there are different types out there. And so I think the legacy is that, we are no longer living with HIV as a death sentence. People can live long and healthy lives just like everybody else. And I think that that's really what this shows, right? We came together as a community, we took care of one another, and now our legacy is that people no longer die from HIV.
Certainly speaks to the power of the community, for sure. People wanting to get involved with a caucus, how can they go about doing so?
Yes, so the caucus is the South's oldest LGBTQ plus civil rights organization. Primarily, we focus on political advocacy, so we are always looking for volunteers. Just go to thecaucus.org. We also do political endorsements throughout the municipal elections and other elections. So just look for us online and come to a meeting.
So many ways to get involved.
Yeah.
Austin, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you,
We
Zach.
appreciate it.